Mutants. Since the year 2000, they have been associated with dark leather clothing and little humour. Across the planet, the debate rages. How can you improve on such a successful film without it turning into a goofy mess? Or do we even need a sequel to an already impressive movie? In 2003, Bryan Singer returned to deliver X-Men 2, X-Men United.
Hello and welcome to Superhero Movie Review Time. I'm your host Grant Liston, a very, very bored Englishman. So, X-Men 2, X-Men United. This is by far one of my favourite comic book films I've ever seen. From start to finish, it's fast-paced, it's got action, it's got humour, it's got a very satisfying ending as well, and very, very little wrong with it. So, we start off, we're in the White House and there's a tour group going round, and one of the members breaks away from the main pack. The guards go over to investigate and say, like, are you lost? And the man in the trench coat attacks the guard. It turns out it's Nightcrawler. And then Nightcrawler then starts to attack the rest of the guards, and you're thinking, Jesus, what a way to start a film off. And he's bamfing around, bamf, 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 bamf. He takes out all the guards. He finally finds himself against the president. He's got him pinned down on the table and he's going to stab him. One of the guards manages to shoot him in the shoulder and he bamps away and disappears, leaving the president very, very shaken. We now take the story over to a school trip into a museum of some sorts. And all the kids from X-Men's school being chaperoned by Jean Grey, Storm and Cyclops. Jean reveals to Cyclops that her powers are very, very unstable at the moment. She hasn't been the same since Ellis Island. And she starts making all the screens in the museum like flicker and flutter around, and there's a real electrical disturbance. She then has a feeling something's going on in the food court. And we go over to Rogue, who is currently dating Bobby Iceman, and we've got a new introduction with the character Pyro. And got to admit, Pyro's a lot of fun in this film. He's got some good witty one-liners and some killer action scenes. So they're being confronted by a couple of burly-looking fellas, and all they're asking is for a lighter. And Pyro's being basically a bit of a dick, saying, "Nah, I don't feel like giving you my lighter." One of the kids takes a lighter off him. And I've got to admit, this is pretty cool from Pyro, because all he does is wink at the cigarette, and it lights up and sets the guy on fire. I mean, that's pretty fucking ballsy. I mean, I've got to admit, in the last film, there were certain moments that really made me go, people are lazy with their powers in this universe. Magneto was one of them. He, in his lair, had some Newton balls clicking backwards and forwards on his table. So you're telling me one half of his mind is on world domination, and the other half of his mind is working on an office toy. I mean, I'd love to have seen like a deleted scene where Toad is just sitting there with a Rubik's Cube on his break. That would have been hilarious. And so it's nice to see in this film like teenagers being teenagers, you know. Like, Pyro is a teenager and he's a dick, and he's just set this guy on fire. So Iceman then steps up and calls him down. Wow, that felt dirty saying that. Gee, I'm very sorry. I am definitely not Arnold Schwarzenegger in Batman and Robin. Whoa. So the entire atrium then freezes, apart from the mutant children, and everything's very deathly quiet. And then, quite literally, in rolls Professor X to reprimand the two boys. They then notice on the television screens that there's been an attack on the president by a mutant. So they kind of feel it's probably prudent to get the hell out of town. Our story now takes us to Logan, who, at the end of the last film, was having his mind read by Professor X. And Professor X tells Logan that the source of his pain comes from a place called Alkali Lake. So Wolverine goes to investigate and doesn't find anything apart from a snowy wasteland. So he heads on home, and as he enters the door, he finds himself with, you know, the arse end of bullshit, and ends up becoming the glorified babysitter for the night, because Professor X has located the would-be assassin Nightcrawler via Cerebro. So we now split up into three ways. We get Wolverine looking after the kids, we get Jean Grey and Storm heading off to find the assassin, and we then get Cyclops and Professor X going to visit Magneto. Now, Magneto is in a plastic cell, after, as you said at the end of the last film, and he is not in the best of shape right now. He's met up with a man called William Stryker, and William Stryker enters his cell with a burly security guard. The security guard proper beats him down with the nightstick, gives him a real backhander, and leaves a quite nice, nasty shiner. William Stryker then pours some liquid on the back of his neck and starts asking him questions about Cerebro. We now move over to Jean Grey and Storm, and they head off to Boston. And they track down Nightcrawler to a church, and then they start having a bit of fun, sort of like, you sure you don't want to come down? We're friendly. And then, well, Storm loses her patience and throws a lightning bolt at him. Reasonable reaction for someone wasting your time. And they explain to him that they're school teachers and we're here to help. Nightcrawler in turn basically says, I could see what I was doing, but I tried so hard to stop myself because there was so much shooting and so much fear, but he just felt compelled to get his mission done and kill the president. He then reveals there's a small mark on the back of his neck, same as Magneto's, where there's been almost like a burn, and he really, really is confused and scared of what's going on. So we now go to Cyclops and the Professor, and they go to visit Magneto in their plastic prison. Professor X gets rolled in, and he then starts talking to Magneto and realises straight away there's something very wrong here. He's got a nasty shiner, and he's very, very jittery. Suddenly the cell's being flooded with some gas, and you see Magneto just yell, "You should have killed me when you had the chance!" Just what a brilliant line. Cyclops. Oh god, yeah. Cyclops has been posted outside to keep guard, and I'm sitting there, begging, praying, hoping to God, please don't suck this time round. Please do something. And he does. He takes down one guard, he takes down another. He's then going to break into the cell and save the day. And I'm like, yes! This is the Cyclops we need! Then a 90-pound Japanese lady comes in and kicks his teeth in. Why do you do this to me, Cyclops? Why? You were my hero growing up. Ugh. And so Professor X and Cyclops get taken away. Oh, Cyclops, why do you do this? Right, so now the story takes us back to Wolverine, who is looking after the kids. Late at night he has a bad dream and decides to explore the mansion a bit more. He finds one of the kids is awake watching television, doesn't really sleep, and then meets up with Bobby Iceman. And they have a nice bit of one-on-one talk, a bit of camaraderie, Iceman calls up a soda for Wolverine. It's a nice little moment there between the two of them, especially talking about how he and Rogue... Yeah. No, it's a kids movie. Can't do that. Suddenly Wolverine hears a disturbance of some kind. And I gotta admit, this is possibly one of my favourite moments in a comic book movie ever. When the army takes on the X-Mansion and Wolverine just goes on a one-man mission to cause mayhem. And it is glorious. He starts off by sinking both sets of claws into a guy's chest in front of Iceman. I mean, Iceman must be fucking terrified at this point, because this is a straight up brutal murder. And then he goes around the house, one at a time, taking out army member after army member by like evisceration, slashing. He stabbed a guy through the foot. Who does that? The film now introduced us to another X-Man who is very underrated in these films. He doesn't say much, but his actions are a lot of fun. And I'm talking about Colossus. And, of course, you first see him, he's in the doorway trying to protect a couple of kids, and the army guys pull out a couple of guns. He then suits up into metal, and then throws the pair of them through a fucking wall. And this is pretty goddamn awesome. Love this guy. Wolverine then bumps into Colossus a little bit later on, and says to him, look after the kids. And Colossus replies, let me help you. And I'm pretty sure everyone who watched this movie at this point was going, let him help you. Let him help you. Oh, it'll be so much fun watching Colossus and Wolverine just like wreak havoc everywhere. It'd be great. But yeah, fair enough. Someone's got to look after the kids, and who better than a 6'6" giant metal man? Yeah. Wolverine in his travels then basically bumps into a huge horde of them while protecting Iceman, Rogue, and Pyro. And in this horde of military personnel is William Stryker. And Wolverine has almost like a flashback, and he recognises Stryker, but he doesn't know why or where from. So much so that he actually retracts his claws. And he's so confused, he's very, very bewildered at what's going on at this point. Bobby then comes to his rescue and sets up an ice wall, and they all escape in Cyclops' car. We now move on to quite a funny bit of the film now, because Mystique has first of all, she's still posing as Senator Kelly, and she's trying to get in to visit Magneto, basically to break him out. So she devises a cunning plan after meeting William Stryker. She then poses as her Japanese assistant and breaks into her office. And there she starts looking through all these files, and she finds one that's called Cerebro. And while clicking through all these files, she then finds a list of names. And if you're a keen X-Men fan like myself, you'll notice some of the names are like Remy LeBeau, and we know him to be Gambit. There's also Maximoff ×2, and they're Magneto's kids. They're Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and then the Maximoff twins. And you think that's really quite detailed. And, you know, I'm very impressed. And there's even like files on Omega Red, and there's even a file on Franklin Richards. And Franklin Richards is the son of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Girl from Fantastic Four. A complete separate brand. And you think, bloody hell, they've really gone into some detail here. So with this newfound information, Mystique tracks down one of the guards, the same one that gave Magneto a shiner. And posing as her very, very sexy self, Rebecca Romaine, she then finds the guy in the bar and drugs him. Takes him to a dirty bathroom stall, he passes out in the middle of, and then injects what appears to be like liquid metal into the guy's arse, and that, my friends, is a pain in the arse no fucker wants. So the next day at work, this guy goes back to the plastic cells and tries to deliver a tasty meal for Magneto. And Magneto instantly clicks like that. Something's different here. He sits up and just reaches forward and feels the metal coursing through his blood and basically rips the metal out of him, killing him. And you're sitting going, holy crap. Magneto then goes on to destroy his plastic cell with 2 ball bearings. Motherfucker, this guy's awesome. And remember in the last review how I was basically gushing over how awesome Magneto is? He does it again. Any other person would have made like this sphere of metal. They would have made that into quite an impressive bridge to walk across. Do you know what this guy does? He makes a platform for a size 9 shoe and then glides home to victory while using 2, metallic balls to take out the rest of the guards. And you think, this guy's got some serious fucking class right here. This is brilliantly written and a lot of fun to watch. Visually beautiful. We now take our story back to Logan, who's in the car with the kids, and they find their way into Boston, where Storm's basically going to go pick him up in the X-Jet, and that's where Bobby Drake's family is. So they go to the Drake family to lay low. Now, Bobby's family have no idea he's a mutant or even that what he can do. So there's a big revelation like, ta-da, I can freeze shit. And his little brother isn't too happy about this, so much so that he actually phones the police on them. Wolverine notices there's some disturbance outside and tells the guys, right, grab your stuff, let's go, we're surrounded. And they head outside, and too little too late, they've got the entire SWAT team around them. Wolverine tries to talk his way out of the situation and gets shot in the face for it. Wow, that's pretty fucking hardcore, I'm not going to lie. Which sets up quite another visually brilliant scene. Pyro loses his mind and then just starts, flicks out his lighter and then just starts taking on the coppers left, right and centre. Visually brilliant, although I personally believe the very first copper he set on fire, I think the rest of them would have opened fire. And it's kind of weird seeing them not shoot back at him, but at the same time he set a cop car on fire and it was pretty cool. Then Rogue takes off a glove, grabs his ankle to make him stop. Now, I'm sorry, but in the first film she kissed a guy and put him in a coma. She held onto his ankle for quite a bit of time now, at least a minute. And I don't know whether she's managed to control her power more so she doesn't kill people as quickly, but he seemed to get away from that quite unhurt, almost like a headache, and that was about it. Wolverine then sits back up after forcing a bullet out of his head and looks at the guy who shot him with a big, yeah, fuck you buddy, fuck you. Storm then picks them up in the X-Jet and suddenly they're being chased by military drones. So they're saying to them, drop your attitude and come back, you're basically under arrest. Storm takes that as carte blanche to, cheese it! They fly off. Storm, very, very underrated as well. Not so much as Cyclops, because at least Storm gets some fun out of these films. She then summons down about 12 or 13 tornadoes and then takes on the military. And you just think she is so powerful. yet so badly underused. And I do feel bad for Halle Berry in this situation. I feel that she could have done a lot more, but as a true professional that she is, she cracked on with the job and did a very good job, as it were. So, she manages to take down both drones, but one of them manages to get a couple of torpedoes off. Up steps Jean Grey with her newfound powers. And she manages to destroy one, but she can't quite destroy the other one. And although there's people who'd question, Storm probably could have thrown a lightning bolt at that one anyway, it wouldn't have been a problem. It sets up a really nice visual of Rogue being sucked out into the air and Nightcrawler bamfing out, saving her, bringing her back. It was a pretty cool moment. It gave Nightcrawler something to do as well. Suddenly, as they're hurtling towards ground, basically they're going to die, the ceiling starts to reform itself, and then they find themselves basically ship face to face with Magneto, and Magneto's just like, when will they learn how to fly? And I love Sir Ian McKellen in these movies, just amazing. So, we're now brought together with what's left of the Brotherhood and the rest of the X-Men having a campfire, discussing what to do. Magneto tells them that the man known as Stryker has built his own Cerebro. They just don't know where it is. And they also discover that they're going to use Professor X to use this Cerebro to kill all mutants. The only question is, where's the base? They bring Nightcrawler forward and they read his mind. And it turns out they're back at Alkali Lake. Which kind of annoys me, because I do believe that Wolverine probably would have sniffed it out, or, let's face it, just walk down a flight of set of stairs and go through an alleyway and he probably would have found it. So, Wolverine, you really do suck as a detective. Sorry, dude. So now we see a couple of moments here where Jean Grey and Wolverine share a kiss that should never have been done, and it explores their relationship more. And let's face it, no one gives a crap about Cyclops at this point, so they're like, yeah, go on Wolverine, shag her brains out, it'd be fucking hilarious. But what's also quite nice with this campfire scene is there's a small moment between Nightcrawler and Mystique. And if you follow the comic books, or even the cartoon series, you discover that Mystique is actually Nightcrawler's mother. So it was a really nice moment there from the writing team and direction team to put this scene in there, almost like another Easter egg. So at Alkali Lake, you then get William Stryker talking to Professor X, and Stryker's being played by the brilliant Brian Cox. In the last movie, I was obsessed with Professor X and Magneto's one-on-ones. In this scene, not only did they keep that theme going, but they just added in Brian Cox into the mix, and it is brilliant. The three of them are absolutely amazing actors, and they just have so much fun with the roles they're given. So, William Stryker then tells Professor X what he's planning to do. He then wheels out his son, Jason, and Jason used to be a student of Professor X's. And Professor X is horrified of what's become of Jason. He's been lobotomised, he's completely a mute, and it's just a horrific thing to see. So Stryker tells him that he's basically, you should have cured my son. Professor X replies, but mutation is not a disease. Stryker's having none of it. And so the plan continues. Professor X is then put into a fantasy world, and for some reason, don't really know why, but Jason's now posing as like a 10-year-old girl saying, please help me. And so they go to his version of Cerebro, and in Professor X's mind in the fantasy world, he's looking for his friends, but in reality, he's killing them. So they send Mystique in first into Alkali Lake, disguised as Wolverine, because it will draw Stryker out. Mystique then infiltrates her way in by kicking a few guys in the teeth, and she opens the blast doors for the rest of the team to come in. They then split up into three groups. Storm takes Nightcrawler to find the rest of the mutants that have been captured. Jean Grey takes Magneto and Mystique over to Cerebro. And Wolverine goes Lone Ranger on the situation and hunts down Stryker. Halfway towards Cerebro, Jean Grey discovers Cyclops being manipulated and he shoots his laser beam at them. Jean Grey tells Mystique and Magneto to go ahead, I've got this, and they leave. This is the first time we've seen Cyclops since he got his arse handed to him. And I'm sorry, but this is now becoming a bit more of a joke now. This is ridiculous. He literally, for about 45 seconds, just continuously shoots his laser beam at Jean Grey. Jean Grey reverses the flow and hits him back. And suddenly he snaps out of it, like, I'm sorry, Jean! Prick. I'm sorry, no. James Marsden's a very good actor, but this character was so badly underused it actually hurts. I mean, I'm very, very almost offended at this point. Nonetheless, the film goes on. Wolverine then tracks down Stryker, and he goes to take him down. Is stopped by his Japanese assistant, who then unfurls all her claws to reveal she's actually Lady Deathstrike. Now, this character has got a lot of anger issues and a lot of incredibly fun backstory. And in the comics and in the cartoons, between Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike, they have some amazing battles and there's a lot of deep personal hatred. This film explores none of this. It literally just goes, yep, them two have got adamantium, they're going to fight. Albeit it's a pretty good fight. I kind of wish she would have survived the fight to join up with the Brotherhood in the third film to add some more familiar faces and some more villains. But at the same time, it was still a pretty cool death. Inject her with adamantium and it just fills her skull and she's now basically a statue underwater. Pretty fucking cool. Now, Stryker then decides to leave a platoon of guards outside Cerebro and tells them, kill anyone who approaches, even if it's me. A solid plan. What he didn't bank on was the fact that Magneto takes all the pins out of the grenade and kills them all. Fucking badass right there. This guy knows how to do evil villain. He just knows how to do it. Magneto then forces open the doors and gets Mystique to disguise herself as William Stryker. She then talks into the ear of Jason in the voice of Stryker, saying, there's been a change of plan. Don't focus on the mutants. Focus on the humans. All this time, Magneto had been doing this for his own plan. He weren't there to save Charles or the other mutants. He was there to kill the humans in one single stroke. Fucking awesome! I mean, Jesus Christ. That right there is fucking evil and I love it. That is amazing. Top scores for you, mate. Absolutely brilliant. So, after Magneto changes the game, he then heads up with Mystique onto the top side and finds a helicopter. On the way there, they find William Stryker and chain him up and leave him to die. And then they also find Pyro, who wants to join their team, and adopt him, and they leave. Outside Cerebro, it's almost like a race against time now, because some of Cyclops' laser beam has destroyed part of the dam, and so things are going to start flooding pretty soon. They then use Storm and Nightcrawler to bamf inside Cerebro, where she makes it so cold she destroys the illusion, and manages to save Professor X before the entire Cerebro area gets destroyed. They head up back topside and they can't find any way of escaping. In comes Rogue and Bobby on the X-Jet and she crash lands pretty spectacularly in front of them. Now we get to the only point of this film where I look at it and go, what? Now don't get me wrong, love this film, it's a lot of fun. There's just this one issue for me, just one. Right at the end, they can't get the plane to work and the dam has exploded and the entire waterfront is flooding towards them and they're probably going to die. So Jean Grey steps outside the plane. She then manages to lift the plane up with one arm and hold the water back with the other one. Couple of things. One, why couldn't she do that standing on the plane? Seriously, just plane? She could lean out the window and stop the fucking water. It confuses me. Like, why couldn't she have done that on the plane? Second of all, they have Iceman on the team, right? Why couldn't Iceman lean out the other window and freeze the fucking water? We have some time now, guys. That fucker's frozen. Am I wrong? Right? One last thing. Okay, let's just say they're not options. She couldn't do it on the plane because of reasons, and Iceman couldn't freeze that much water. Okay. She then steps outside the plane. She hobbles towards that waterfront. She stops the water and starts lifting the plane. Why can't she get the plane to a certain height and then allow Nightcrawler to bamf in and get her? Worst case scenario there, they get a bit wet. Am I wrong? But no, they wanted so badly to kill her off, they left her down there to lift the plane up to safety and then she let herself die. Straight up like that, water cascades over her, she is now dead, finito, gone. Alright, fair enough. Yeah, there's some shocked reactions and Cyclops being the super bitch that he is in this film. No! You don't, no. Just... How can they get a character so wrong in this movie? I'll never know. So the film then wraps up where it began. They end up back at the White House where the president is making a speech to the people. There's a bit of a thunderstorm. Ooh, we know what's coming. And then the entire room freezes apart from the president, and suddenly all the X-Men are standing there looking at him quite serious. This is quite an intimidating moment right now. And so the president talks to Professor X, and Professor X makes it very clear that we're here to stay, we're not against you, we just need you to be on our side so we can fight this evil together. And Wolverine, being as menacing as he can, basically just says, we'll be watching you. I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure the President of the United States will take that as a massive threat and nuke someone. Just saying. What we've heard in the media, that's what you'd think. So, that was X-Men 2. Brilliant. Just brilliant. And don't get me wrong, I know that ending kind of irked me, but it was just brilliant. What I said at the end of number 1, how it was a bit dark and the humour was a bit flimsy, and there weren't enough X-Men. They took all 3 of those points and solved them. They gave us more X-Men. They made it a bit more brighter and a bit more fun. And the laughs. I mean, it was brilliant. It wasn't just Wolverine giving us a single claw. There was moments with Pyro that were quite fun. There was moments with Magneto where I was outright belly laughing. Nightcrawler injected some real quirky moments, and I can't wait to see him in The Last Stand. Yeah, that sucked, that did. So, overall, I'm actually going to give this film a 9 out of 10. Very, very happy with it. So, thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a dirty comment. I'll probably respond to that one too. And I'll see you next time for X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Take care now.